Hello and welcome to week 43 of Workout Wednesday for Power BI. We are on the last week of mapping month, and so we are looking at plotting points within a distance radius from a specified point. To do this, we're using Dutch Brothers Coffee locations, and so we're allowing a user to choose a state and a city and a maximum distance. So then they can see all of the Dutch Brothers Coffee locations within the selected distance of the city they chose, both as a point on the map and in the list. And then they can adjust the distance, and the map and the list will change. So let's get started. My data comes from data.world. So I'm going to use the data.world connector. When you go to data.world, this is what you'll see. There's two data sets here, and we need to get the data set name, or the ID rather, and put it in. That will pop up two tables, and we want them both, and we're going to transform data. The data is largely formatted, but I'm just going to do a little bit of cleanup. I don't need GeoPoint. I'm going to capitalize the names of my columns. Get rid of that underscore. All right, that one is done. For city, I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. I don't need the point. Everything is in the US, so I can get rid of that, narrow my table down, and I'm just going to call this city selection. And this will be, oops, Dutch Bros locations. Oh, I think I forgot to finish capitalizing these things. There we go. I'm going to close and apply that. And I can already be adding a slicer for state and another one for city. And I'm just going to make them a little smaller here. And we know we're going to need a slicer for the maximum distance. And the way we do that is with a new what if parameter. That's under modeling. I'm going to call it maximum distance. It's going to be a whole number between 0 and 50, incremented by 1, and we'll let it add the slicer to the page. And I'm just putting in a note that it is kilometers. Same thing here. And by note, I mean I'm adding it to the name. So now we have that. And when we created this what if parameter, we got both a list of numbers as well as the measure for the selected value, which is currently 5. Now we need to start adding some DAX. And the biggest thing is the distance calculation. So this is what I used for the distance calculation, and I chose to do it in kilometers since more people use kilometers than miles. You can feel free to do yours in miles, but I borrowed this from a combination of, this is really pretty close to Phil Seamark's calculation he wrote in DAX from his blog post, which is linked on the Workout Wednesday site in the hint on this requirement. And I used that in conjunction with looking at the other hint from David Eldersveld. So you get your longitude and latitude from the selected city, and then you calculate the min, longitude, and latitude for the Dutch Brothers location. And this is the math to do the Haversine formula to find basically the edge of a circle given a radius. So this is just the nice use of variables. And here's where we're using the Dutch Brothers locations and the selected city location. And granted, cities are really large, so we just assumed a point. If we go to city selections, this is just the longitude and latitude that comes back from a geocoding service. But that is close enough for us. So we've got our distance formula now. It's in here. We can now build a quick measure that I called is within threshold. So if the distance is less than the maximum distance chosen in the slicer, 1, otherwise 0. And that lets us build our table. So I'm going to do address, distance, and then add a filter on that new measure. And we're going to turn that into a table. And right now it's not showing anything because I don't have a city selected. So let's fix that. And I would like my distance to be formatted as a whole number. I don't need to be that precise. And then I can take off the totals. And that gives us, oh, I meant to do location, not address. There we go. I called it address here because I feel like that is a more user-friendly column header title. So we're going to move this over here for now. And then we need to make a couple other DAX formulas before we do our map. And these are the parts I borrowed from David's blog post. All this is if there's a city selected and the distance returns a value less than the selected distance, then make the dot blue. Otherwise, I just put in white. And then we need map point size. So if the distance is less than the maximum allowed distance and there's only one city selected and the distance equals 0, then it's going to be 1. Otherwise, it'll be 0.25. If there is no city selected, it's 1. Otherwise, it's 0. So there's our map point size. And we can make our map. I'm just using the regular map visual. I'm doing latitude, longitude, size here, and then I'm putting in location and distance in our tooltips. And we have to make sure that our latitude and longitude are not summarized. There we go. And we'd also want to set our data categories. So I'll stop and do that for all of them now. All right, so that's the basics of our map, and the rest is formatting and design. So I'll walk through some of the things that I did. I used an image background. And then I set it to fill with 20% transparency. And then I grabbed the color from that and used that to set my wallpaper color. And I changed my font, so I'm going to go just update it in the current theme. I believe I did Tahoma. Tahoma 11 point. And instead of black, I did kind of a dark brown, very dark brown to go with coffee. For my titles, I did Tahoma as well, 12. Same thing. Tahoma, Tahoma. And I made my background 50% transparent by default. And we'll apply that. All right, that takes care of a lot of it. And what you'll notice when you do this is the maximum distance, just because of the way the slicer is designed, is a lot smaller than the others. So I'm just gonna adjust in the slicer header just a little bit. And then I added a little explanatory text box. We'll move these all down to better line up over here. Make this a little shorter. And then we can just make sure that they align top. And distribute horizontally for a little bit more even spacing there. And I added a title text box. And a couple of icons for a little bit of decoration. And then I changed my map style to grayscale. And I'm just going to adjust the formatting on my table. I want that outline color to match the blue I've been using. I think we're good here. Tahoma 11, auto alignment. Values. And I'm just making my background color into basically colors that go better with the page background. So I took the page background color as my alternate background color. And then did pretty much a lighter version of that so that it kind of just flows together into the page. I turned on my title. And I'll make a better title for the map. And here's where I added the conditional formatting. Go to data colors, and we're going to do field value, map point color. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to open my selection pane. My layer order could be a little better here. So I'm going to do title, text box, rename a couple of those. So it's easier to see which one is which. And I'm going to put the table and the map above these decorative images. And then, because I copied them over, they're already hidden, but I'm going to make sure I set tab order for keyboard usability. And in the last couple months, they've added this have tab order match visual order. And you can click it, and that puts it in kind of a order of the XY coordinates where it's Y first, then X sorted. And that actually works pretty nicely. Except for that one, because I did not align that one. There we go. Now that works nicely. And it skips our decorative visuals, and there we go. And that's all for this week's solution video. We hope you enjoyed this challenge. Feel free to let us know on LinkedIn or Twitter if you have any questions, or on the Workout Wednesday site itself on the post for the exercise. This is Megan Longoria signing off.